Hello and welcome in to Sorare with Laird. As I realize my screen is way too big. There we go. Sorry. I'm Andrew Laird. You can find me as Lairdino on Sorare. Talking today about whether Sorare is just becoming daily fantasy, as they call it, soccer or sports, whatever we want to talk about, or however we want to define DFS. But there has been a lot of talk recently, literally about Sorare 26, and I've seen just a lot of comments of just like, all right, this is just daily fantasy now. And while there are definitely some similarities, some of which I've brought up, including like the game lobby, and I'm like, it looks kind of similar. And a lot of that came up during the stream on Friday with PSU Fans 2, who is a long time daily fantasy player. And so there are some similarities, but I think that we should talk about what they are and what some of the similarities people think exist and they don't actually. So thank you to everyone for coming in. Pico Player, Sean Kennedy, and Anion on the podium. Congratulations to you three. You got Shezzy, Dobbsy, and Sean Thorpe. As a reminder, for those of you who are not watching live, you could be watching it live if you were a member of the Andrew M. Laird Patreon, which is linked below, patreon.com/Andrew M. Laird, where everyone who is here is a member. And memberships start as little as $5 a month, and you get access to a whole bunch of things, including our community Discord and some members only videos and other content, including the player projections that I'm working on. Although, as I explained in the Discord today, I found, or one of my members who was kind of helping me with this, found a massive flaw in some of my data. And boy, oh boy, do I have some work to do. Suro Burrow, what's up? Gambling saves Sorare. Prove me wrong. I mean, we'll have to get into that because that does kind of include some of the daily fantasy stuff, at least in the United States. I am not going to sit here and say that I am an expert in the regulatory or laws of other countries. I barely know them here, but here in the US, but you know, those are obviously things that Sorare are dealing with and have been dealing with for years. And the move towards a gameplay that looks like daily fantasy makes people think, well, like, oh, well, then they're just daily fantasy. And if they're daily fantasy, then they're going to need a gambling license because a lot of fantasy companies here in the US need gambling licenses depending on where they are. And so, yeah, we'll have to get into that for sure. So yeah, that's the plug. Join the Patreon if you'd like to participate in the live chats or any subsequent chats that are happening in the Discord before or after. And obviously, there are more. The biggest thing is that it helps support the content that I do. And so if you enjoy the content and you're somebody who likes, or at least is willing to pay for things that pay for the work that people do, thank you very much. So anyway, I'm going to focus most of the DFS part on DraftKings because DraftKings is the biggest daily fantasy operator here in the United States, probably in the world, because daily fantasy is just not that big. FanDuel is another one that is very big in the US and used to be the biggest. FanDuel and DraftKings almost merged a couple years ago, and then that was shot down. And I know I believe FanTeam is the biggest one in Europe. I don't play FanTeam because I am not in Europe. I might be eligible. I'm not even sure now that I kind of say that out loud, but I actually don't play daily fantasy anymore because I just stopped liking it while I did it. But I spent years playing daily fantasy and primarily did it on DraftKings. So Dobbsy said, I'll be 100% honest. I have zero clue what DFS is. And we're going to talk about it. And I'm going to show you guys what it is because it'll give you a better idea of what makes people think that Sorare is becoming daily fantasy. So again, I'm going to preface this by saying that I have not played a daily fantasy. DraftKings calls it soccer because it's a US company, but I have not played a daily fantasy slate in years. And I'm not planning on doing one anytime soon. Like I said, I used to play for years. Sean said FanTeam has recently been acquired by Bet365. Okay, that's fair. I mean, DraftKings and FanDuel are basically gambling operators now in the US. Daily Fantasy was kind of their way into offering stuff like that, but they're mostly just sports books now. So it's not surprising that those kind of match up. But from a daily fantasy perspective, I did mostly football or soccer, as they call it. But I also played NFL, NBA, MLB, tinkered in golf. I don't think I ever got into NASCAR. I played a ton of League of Legends during COVID. League of Legends, Daily Fantasy League of Legends is an amazing game, even if it's been solved. But I'm going to show you guys what it looks like. And unfortunately, this time of year, there's just not that much going on, but it'll still give you an idea of what you can get from here. So this is the DraftKings lobby, basically. And basically how you play is you go through the lobby, and these are all the contests that they have. And they have different entry fees. Each one requires an entry fee. And they say exactly what the prizes are, and they will give you a breakdown of how much each place wins. There is a set number of entries per contest. It's not unlimited. You can have multiple entries depending on the contest, but they can never go above the max that they're showing here. And they will never pay more than what's shown here. So they have this Club World Cup slate, which I'm going to focus on here. So they have it today. It starts at 3:00. And this one's a little bit kind of irregular for them because they try to get slates where the games are happening all at the same time. But obviously with Club World Cup, we don't have that. But the 3 games are 3:00. That's local time for me. Chelsea, LAFC. And then at 6:00 is Boca, Benfica. And 9:00 is Flamengo against Tunis, who I believe is from Tunisia. And Dobbsy said kind of like a poker buy-in tournament. There's an incredible amount of crossover between daily fantasy sports and poker. And I will give credit to Jordan Cooper, who I used to stream with all the time. That said, poker is a money game that's played with cards, and DFS is a money game played with players, basically. And the DFS legend, Keith Jameson, Gator Guy 231 in the house. Keith, what's up? So anyway, the way that it works is it's all salary cap, and I'll click in. And again, I'm not going to actually let's see here. Oh, right. And the prize pool. So you get the exact prize pool here. You can see, let's see, I can enter up to 14 times at $15 per entry. First place pays $2,000. Sixth place pays $80. And that was one of the feedbacks that they've gotten for years about top heavy payouts. And obviously nothing's changed. You can see in the entrance who has already entered, and DraftKings does these things, and FanDuel does as well, where you get these little badges based on how I don't even know if it's how good you are, but how often you play. But the idea is if you have one of these badges, it means you're very good. You're good at the game. And then the M, I assume, is multi-entry, but I actually don't even know. Yes, steak knives for fifth, which is a classic Jordan Cooper line, which I loved. And so you can, here we go. Experience badge. Yeah. And so the way that it works is, like I said, it's total prize pool of 6,000. I can enter up to 14 times at $15 per. And if I win, I get $2,000 as long as I win without scoring the exact same as the other first place, in which case we will split $2,600, if that makes sense. If the top two have the same lineup. And basically lineup uniqueness is very important, not so much in these classic competitions, but they also do single game ones which they call showdowns. So there's this one for Chelsea and LAFC. So they have another one, $15 to enter, 6,000 to first, 6,000 total, 2,000 to first. Pretty similar, actually. In fact, is this different than the one I clicked on? Or are they both? No, they're the same. And so for the showdown ones, you just pick players from Chelsea and LAFC, whereas on the classic slate, you pick from all three. Now, everything is salary cap. So it's a cap mode, if you will. Pedro Neto is the most expensive Chelsea forward, which is kind of funny to see here. Hilariously, it's a $50,000 cap, $50,000 cap. And then you just pick your team. 2 forwards, 2 midfielders, 2 defenders, a goalkeeper, and a utility. So obviously you can see 8 spots way different than 7. So it's like Sorare is not even close to DFS. But anyway, so you make your lineup, and the scoring system is not similar to Sorare at all, but it does give points for more than just this basically decisive actions. So you see goal and assists are pretty big. Shots and shots on goal count. Crosses, they do not have to be accurate. Literally just anytime some donkey crosses the ball into the box, you get 7/10 of a point, which is why guys like Jesus Navas and James Ward-Prowse and who was the guy from Porto or where did he play? Quaresma, like that's why these guys are like DFS legends, because they take set pieces, which as you can see via corner kicks is such an American, open play and set pieces, which is why set pieces for people who play DFS is so important. I knew Keith would appreciate that Quaresma shout out. Andros Townsend, yes, he was a legend. You're right. Absolutely true. Assisted shots are just chances created, or key passes, I forget which one. And then you get accurate passes, fouls drawn, fouls conceded, which are negative, tackles won, interceptions, some cards. You get bonus points for clean sheets, which are only count for defenders, I believe, and then some goalie stats and whatnot. And yeah, so amazingly in MLS contests, they count secondary assists as regular assists. So there's that. Yeah. And a shot on goal is actually 2 because you get the points for shot and shot on goal. So anyway, so what you do is you take your balance. What is my balance here? $299. How about that? Probably I spend most of that on the sports book. But you spend that, $15 to come in here. You make your lineup and finish at the top and you win. And it's as simple as that. And if you don't win, your $15 or 15 times however many entries you submit is gone. And then you do it all over again tomorrow, or not even tomorrow. You can do it later in the day. As you can see, this 3:00 slate has both. And then there's a Gold Cup slate tonight. God, who could possibly be on this one? Panama against Guadalupe and Jamaica against Guatemala. The slate we have all been looking for. I would guess that Keith has at least 10 lineups or 10 entries already set for that one. But let's see. Let's see how many people we know here. Waterman's from Montreal, though, right? Maybe. We'll go to all and we can see who the most expensive players are. Who knows who this guy is? Oscar Santos from Guatemala is the most expensive player. I'm sure Keith has already looked at his SofaScore heat map to see if he has ever been in a corner in any game that he's ever played. But anyway, it's a different Waterman. Sorry. Oh, Eric Davis. Are we getting some here we go. 7,400. Let's see here. Yeah, he does like to cross. Tough matchups against Mexico, USA, and even Qatar's tough. Oh, man. Montreal one is with Canada. Okay. Thank you very much, Dobbsy. Appreciate that. But anyway, this is literally it for daily fantasy sports. And one of the funny things, and I mentioned this, I think, to Keith the other day. Was it Keith? I think it was. We were talking about the arena and how Essence, that's what it was. It was when QTN crafted a tier 1, and it turned out to be a tier 1 from MLS, and it was Cameron Harper. Is that his name, from the Red Bulls? And I was like, that is a perfect example of like, we should be using our Essence to play the arena. And Keith was like, so we're just using Essence to play the arena so we can win Essence, so we can play the arena, so we can win Essence to play the arena. And I was like, it's just like DFS, where you deposit money, you win money to enter more contests, to try to win more money, to win more contests, to win more money. It's a vicious cycle. And very, very few people win on DFS. That's kind of it's not even unspoken, because it is spoken, but it's something like 90%, if not higher, people lose in DFS. So let's see here. I don't even know how to read this. But in the last 30 days, 81% of users are net losers. 14% are net winners, which is actually significantly higher than I thought. Sorry, hold on. Let me make myself. So most people actually lose in DFS, no matter how good you think you are. And it's because all of your entry fees basically go, you pay your entry fee, DraftKings takes a rake, and the rest is paid out to the winners. And people who are very, very good at the game, and there are actually a few names here that I recognize already, but win most of the time. Oh, of course he's in the Gold Cup. Of course he's in the Gold Cup already. People who win more often win people who are not as good's money. That's how it works. And once you submit your lineup, and if you lose, your money is gone. And then you just use more of your money to submit a lineup for the next time. I will also add, because I would be remiss if I didn't, this is all late swap. So you have to submit your lineup. You have to have your entry in by 3:00. But as long as you have guys from the later games, if you play the Flamingo guys, and I'm only going to click in here so I can get an opportunity to pull up Nicolas de la Cruz, because I love him from his time at River Plate. Here he is, 5,800. Is Diascaredia, whatever his name is, back? This guy. He was good at the World Cup for like years ago. But anyway, so if I make my lineup at the 3:00 and I have De La Cruz in, and he is not going to, and he doesn't start, I can change that leading up to the start of his game. I'm sorry, his game is 9:00. So that's the late swap solution. The issue is that I have to do it. I have to be active, and I have to get the notification that the lineups are out and check, or maybe DraftKings does a notification that he's out. I don't even know. Keith said the majority of slates are the same time for what it's worth. This is a bit skewed. And I tried to say that before, but yes, they'll do a Premier League slate where it's 10 a.m. for me. So that's the 3:00 start for everybody in the UK. All those 3:00 games will be included. And that's it. And so there you go. And so the reason why people are saying, wait, Sorare is just becoming DFS is because we feel this in-season pressure now of, we have our in-season lineups and we only have the season to get our money back, and we may as well just be playing DFS. And the difference is that we buy our cards here and we submit a lineup, and if we lose, we can just submit that lineup again. We don't lose our cards. We can just go again. Now, you're going to sit there and be like, wait a minute. We have this Club World Cup contest where you had to buy a card to play. That's DFS. And somebody mentioned that the rake on those was 70 or 80%. DraftKings' rake is 10%. Actually, Keith would know. I don't know if it's still 10%. I assume it's got to be around there. I know that the higher you play, the lower the rake, meaning the higher entry fee contests, the rake is lower. And everyone's like, why would I play Sorare if they take an 80% rake? Holy shit. Keith said it's 18%. My God. Anyway, and everyone's like, well, why would I play Sorare if they have an 80% rake or 70%? I don't remember what it was. And MDJ, welcome. Thank you for becoming a member of the Patreon. And MDJ actually brought this up, and it was a conversation that they had with someone else, and I can't remember who it was, but that's kind of what spurned me talking about this. So Mel, thank you for that. But the difference here is we have these, and please don't scoff at this whole collectible card thing. So that's what I was going to say. But we have these cards, and these cards are officially licensed, and Sorare has to pay for that license. DraftKings does not have to pay to use player names for stats. There are no NFTs here. There's no buying and selling of everything. It's literally just a name and a stat, and that stuff doesn't cost anything else. I mean, it costs Opta, but it doesn't cost. They're not paying Chelsea anything to create this Pedro Neto fake Chelsea jersey with a DraftKings logo on it. And so there are fees to that, or there are costs that Sorare have to have these contests, which again, you don't pay extra to enter, and you can use these cards multiple ways. And so I entered the Coliseum for this Club World Cup with 2 River Plate Summer Edition cards. It was this Franco Armani here and this Gonzalo Montiel, which I can use in this Coliseum, which I think the top prize was 300. Not sure if I can easily see that. Oh, 100, excuse me. So $100 there and $100 here. Obviously, that's these are separate Coliseums. So each of these could win 100. After Bayern, they probably won't. And everyone's like, well, yeah, but they don't have like that much utility. In season is almost over. Now that applies more for the European cards. River Plate cards should have in season through the end of 2025, although who knows what they'll be competing in once all these changes happen. But my expectation is that I will have the ability to use these cards to compete for cash through the end of 2025, whether it's against other contender teams, whether I have to beat PSV, who knows? But every time I use this card, I don't have to pay additional to use it. And again, you're like, hey, but you had to buy those cards to enter this contest. And the answer was yes. If you didn't buy those, you're not in the contest. Nobody's making you buy that. I bought it because I had market credits and I like River Plate. And I thought, hey, let's try this out. That's the only reason I did. Sean said the Club World Cup is essentially pay £10 for a special card to get a minimum of 3 entries into the contest and ignoring any classic utility. You're not only, it's not though. It's, well, let me rephrase. You're getting a minimum of 3 entries. Well, I guess minimum of 3 entries is appropriate because I can use this 20 more times for River Plate's rest of season. Now, if you're like, well, if I bought a new Jude, then I'm only getting a minimum of, 3, maximum of, 7 that they could play. And it's like, yeah. And I know that going in. And stop me if you've heard this before, because about this, like buying cards to do it. I bought a card to compete in a contest that will have fewer people competing in it. Now, if you've been listening or watching the content over the last few days, you'll know that that's one of the reasons that people play rare over limited or super rare over rare or unique over super rare, RIP uniques. But you pay to compete against fewer people. That's what I've done here. Now, again, on the DraftKings thing, it actually applies the same way. Contests that have higher entry fees tend to have fewer people. Let me just do, it's still going to count those. Anyway, the other big difference with DFS then, although it's, excuse me, the other, what was a difference with DFS and is now looking closer to Sorare is DraftKings offers these things called 50-50s or double ups, where 50-50s are 50% of the people win. So we have this one here. It's a 4-person contest, $5,300 to enter. First and second place win $10K. Third and fourth win nothing. Now, obviously, you can see the numbers get fairly big, which is a little scary, but you can just do this one, this 50-50, and this makes the math quite easy. $1 per person. This is not multi-entry. $1 per person, so 10 people can play. First through fifth win $1.80, and then everyone else wins nothing. The $1.80 is not $2 because it's not a double up. That's their rake. Now they also have double ups where you do double your money, but fewer than half the people win. This is 23 people enter and 10 win. Again, that's the rake. So you're competing against fewer people, which kind of sounds a little bit like the arena. Not going to lie. And that's okay. Some people like that. Also on the rake, over $100 entry, the rake drops. Okay, that's cool. Andrea said you can also sell your entries at a profit even without winning anything. Have Sorare then paid you to play if it's an entry fee? You can sell your entries at a profit. Oh, yes, I could. Although I don't think these cards are getting any sort of profit. These summer edition cards. Maybe they will at some point. But anyway, so the arena starts to look a little more like a cash game. Cash games are those double ups. You could also do head to heads, meaning like 1v1, which Sorare hasn't implemented yet. I don't know if they ever will. But that's a big way for people to make money on DraftKings. And they do it basically by saying, contests are now grouped by entry fee. Okay, that's fine. So I could say, hey, I want to play one person in a Club World Cup. There's Keith. Look at you. Sorry to shout you out there, Keith. But it's like, all right, I'm gonna stake $50 in, and I can win 90, and I only have to beat one person. And Sorare doesn't offer that. I know there are plenty of people who play DFS who would love if Sorare offered that. But that's basically how DraftKings works, and how daily fantasy sports. You pay an entry fee to get into the contest. If you win whatever the prize is. If you lose, your money's gone. And then you just pay again to play. And in Sorare, you use these cards. I don't even want to say infinitely now because, well, it's never really been infinite. But as we know, we can continue to play. The in-season stuff has an expiration at some point, at least like in terms of a full, we'll call it 4 in-season cards. And actually, this Coliseum isn't even an in-season. Like, you need one in-season. I happen to play a bunch of in-seasons, but because I want to get the XP up. But you can use those over and over and over again. In-season. Like, you could get 30 games, 40 games of in-season utility for some cards. I don't know if Andreas wanted me to say this out loud, but I'm going to. But he went back and realized that an in-season Jude, which this one is not, but you would have gotten, I think it was over 60 opportunities to win money, win cash in an in-season competition from Jude Bellingham this year. Like a 2024-25 Jude Bellingham card had over 60 opportunities in in-season competitions thanks to regular Real Madrid league matches, Champions League, Jude playing for England, now the Club World Cup. Like, there were a lot of opportunities, which was way more than I ever expected. So yeah, let's see. GDC will start Luis Araujo on all set pieces recently. I think that's only because De La Cruz has been out. Sorry. Anyway, Sean said Sorare has always been a DFS site in my eyes. If you're just effectively paying the entry fees up front, the only difference now is how many entries you get for that fee. Yeah, I mean, that is a good way to think about it, but that's always been the way, right? Like, we pay, and I think this is one thing that Sorare kind of has always underestimated with its user base, that people pay for current and future utility, and it feels like the future utility ends up being hidden, or yeah, that's why people get upset. Rivals was 1v1 kind of. It was absolutely 1v1. You're absolutely right. And I think that's why a lot of people liked it. Let's see. James said, DraftKings, you're mostly playing single game week entries with different players each time. Sorare, you select players for longer utility and have more of a connection with the players. Absolutely. Absolutely true. Now, DraftKings very rarely has multi-day slates. Keith, actually, I don't even know if they do them anymore. Maybe, I mean, they'll have them for like NFL, but those aren't even like the featured contests. The bigger ones, like DraftKings wants you to play as much as possible. And so offering as many slates as possible is the benefit. So you never have to worry. You win, you get your money almost immediately, and then you just plow it right back in. Dobbsy said, would also say that DFS is somewhat fair in terms of picking players, whereas the arena on Sorare, you could get someone whose gallery is 10x yours. Well, that's why they do cap modes. Never multi anymore. Okay. Certainly not for soccer. Andreas said up to 66 games of in-season for Jude, DNPs included, 65 of those in-season comps with cash. That's crazy. That's like genuinely nuts. So Dobbsy, that's kind of the point with the arena being capped, is it theoretically allows a more level playing field. But you're right. Like everybody on DraftKings and FanDuel, and I assume FanTeam, play with the same salary cap. What they don't play with is the same budget. And so I could, for this Chelsea LAFC game, like I could I could do 14 entries at 15. I could do, how many is this? Can I hover? No. That one's only 2 multi-entry. But like whatever the multi-entries are, I can max this out. I could have thousands of dollars on the line, and not to mention that the head-to-heads and double ups aren't even counted here. So that just gives me like more opportunities to win. Whereas on Sorare, theoretically, I could enter in more places, but I'm not necessarily just trying to beat the same people. The people I'm trying to beat in limited are not going to be the same people I'm trying to beat in super rare. And he said there's also no XP in collection, so that there's no advantage for whales. This is for the arena. Meanwhile, people with medium galleries cry for XP to be active in the arena. Yeah. Not everyone is on the same playing field in DFS at all, for what it's worth. Absolutely true as well, which is why they have those little experience badges, which like I haven't played in years, and I would guess I still have one. I don't know how to check that. I don't know. Who cares? I'm not playing. Dopsy said collection should be in the arena. In my opinion, it gives a reason. I totally agree. Also makes classics with low XP usable. Yeah, not having collection in the arena is very strange to me, but I mean, it is what it is. So the way that like the whole like this is just DFS now, I just really struggle with, because DFS requires you to constantly not even deposit money, constantly stake your money for an entry for a contest that lasts out a few hours, and then you just have to do it all over again, putting more money in. Now, you could be using the money that you put in. I mean, you could use money that you've won to put in, and you just keep rolling it. Not to like call Keith out, but I believe Keith started with $25 or $50 on DraftKings and has been extremely successful. And now doesn't even really play with house money, because like he made the $25 back like immediately. I wasn't very bad at DFS, but like I was good enough to keep playing. It was 25. So like I won enough to enter more often. I never won like a big contest where it was like, oh, here's $5,000, and like that paid back everything. Like I probably deposited early on, and again, just won enough to keep playing. And I just kind of got bored of it. Not bored. I got a little burned out by it, which is why I don't play anymore. And which is why Sorare was so attractive to me, because it was like, as long as I still had the cards, I could still play. And it wasn't like, oh man, my balance is getting low, maybe I should deposit again. And then I would win enough, and it was like, all right, don't have to deposit. But like, there are people who deposit on DraftKings all the time because they like the game, which like, that's cool. But the idea that DraftKings, FanDuel, FanTeam offer a product, and Sorare now is offering the same product, like they're very, very different. Now, they both involve like using money to win money, but it kind of ends there. James said it's essentially FPL with a cash stake for a single game. So I would say very different to Sorare. I play a few NFL DraftKings weeks in the UK before it was banned, so I'm no expert. But that is a good kind of description. FPL with a cash stake for it's not just a single game. Like they would do a bigger man, now my camera lost again. Whatever happened here? Hold on. I don't know why this is happening. And then you see me from here. And now we go back and it works. I don't know. So yeah, they would have like a 5-game prem slate. James said, I also got $30 stuck in DK. They won't let me withdraw. I need that for silly Club World Cup cards. He said, I think a lot of OG people are burned out, but it shows up differently. Is that for DFS? He said, very easy to get burned out. Took a break a few months back. Andre said, using money to buy cards to win money. There is even a step before, in my opinion. Using money to buy cards to win money. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Now, also, I will add that for DraftKings, for any DFS slate, the player prices are wholly dependent on, not wholly, they are dependent on their stats and the matchup. He's saying, yeah, OG users burned up. Yeah, burned out. Yeah, totally agree. And so when you go in here, so this Club World Cup thing, like you might see, how much was Araujo? It won't even let me. Come on. My internet's starting to be a little wonky, so I'm starting to worry that the stream is going to die. All right. So Luis Araujo is 9,800 right now. Hold on, let me make myself a little smaller so you guys can see. Come on. There we go. So Araujo is 9,800. They have no previous game logs, which is really frustrating. But anyway, that's because they are favored against Tunis. If they were playing like PSG, Araujo would probably be like 6,000. And so basically the salaries of all the players change for every slate. Now you could say like, oh, so rare card prices change. And it's like, yeah, they do, but they don't change based on matchups. They change based on the market. Or, whatever So Rare wants to charge us for these summer edition cards. But that's basically how the two work individually of each other. Now, again, you could say you could say that DraftKings or that So Rare has like some DFS tendencies, I guess. I don't even know if that's what I would call them, but there is kind of like this, there's a humongous difference between buying these cards. Now, Andreas kind of said it earlier. Sorry, I have like a spinning wall on my computer now. That's worrying me. Andreas said earlier, like you can sell these cards. Now, everyone who has tried to sell cards recently is probably like, yeah, well, they're never going to be worth what I paid for them. And now you can kind of understand why in-season cards drop over the course of a season. Because if you buy a card and you say, hey, you can use this card 50 times to try to win cash. And you're like, oh, cool. And then later on, you're like, you can sell this card for 20 to enter 25 times. And someone's like, wait, why would I get the same price? And that's why you don't get the same price. But you can't sell DraftKings entries. You can't buy a cheaper price on Luis Araujo when he has a bad matchup and use it again later when he has a good matchup. It doesn't work that way. And so as much as we feel like there is a short-term play of So Rare now, it's significantly longer term than DFS. And so that's why I really struggle with saying that So Rare is just DFS now. Does it have some DFS tendencies? I guess. James said Rivals was DFS without the cost. The core So Rare product is still very different with the new setup. I mean, Rivals was similar for head-to-heads in DFS, but not like did we have huge tournaments? I can't even remember. I guess we did for the Club World Cup, but that was a cumulative leaderboard over the course of a month, which DFS just doesn't have at all. Hallingen, what's up? What'd you miss? Everything. But James, wasn't the Euros like cumulative leaderboard, or excuse me, like total community leaderboard? Wasn't that cumulative scores? Because like DFS doesn't have that. Daily Euro leaderboards. Okay. Keith, who loves DFS, said it's still much better than DFS. There's a lot of reasons. Yeah, I mean, it's what you want to do. Like if you are somebody who thinks you're much better at at making lineups based off of a salary cap and are willing to stake money against somebody else's money for their lineups, like DFS is perfect for you. Something hidden in DFS too. You didn't. I don't know what's hidden in DFS. You touched on this but didn't finish. Was that the fact that most people lose? So our NBA did cumulative scores for each knockout round. Okay. But again, like that wasn't like the DFS contests are one leaderboard, like for their huge tournaments. So it's like, and once that slate is over, like it's over. Some of the best players aren't playable in DFS due to scoring. Due to scoring or due to price, Keith? Or I guess, yeah. So is this like an Erling Haaland comment? Sort of. But yeah, like DFS is much more of a puzzle than I think Sorare is. Excuse me, in terms of like actually building lineups. That was the reason why I liked DFS. Is it totally felt like a puzzle to me of how do I get a lot of the how do you get the best players in a single lineup based on these cap limitations? And Dobsy said FPL has a lot of players who are useless also because of the way the scoring is. So Dobsy, the thing is that like those tend to be the bad players, but in DFS there are like good players that because of the scoring system. Yeah. So like this is a good question. This is good. So Keith said, I would rather play a winger that crosses a ton versus a CDM that controls the game. Like I'm guessing Rodri, maybe Rodri was good. Keith, I don't even know. I didn't play obviously I didn't play. But like Rodri's the best player or was the best player in the Prem is probably, yeah. And Rice took some, on FPL. Rice took some set pieces at some point, but like Rodri's probably not great on DraftKings, but I mean, we can just go to RotoWire here. And the easiest way to see who the best players are, where's stats? Featured player stats. Like we're going to see who the best DraftKings players are. I'll even do corners here. Hold on. Starts. I don't even need minutes. And I really just need crosses. Crosses. Like this is going to be a funny list to some of you, but like I am guessing. So like here are some of the best players on DraftKings. And you're like, oh, Burmo's good. Pedro Porro, Bruno Fernandes. All right, that's great. Elanga, Andreas Pereira, Anthony Robinson. I guess Rice did cross a lot. There's TAA, and you're like, oh, great. All right. And then you're like, oh, Kirkez? Okay. Like, well, he just got that move. Lucas Digne, Lewis Cook. And like, these are the guys that you want. Look at NYCFC's Jack Harrison. James, it annoyed me so much that the best player in the league was useless in FPL. Speaking of Rodri. Rodri was playable if he was cheap. He got expensive and was unplayable. Yeah, there you go. That list is very accurate. Yeah. There's Saka because he took some. Like these are your best guys right here. In the Prem. Look at Anthony Robinson. 170 crosses and no corners. Love that. But anyway, so these are some of the best players. And these are like, you would take these players over players that we would normally think were better because they don't cross. Like center backs are completely mostly worthless on DraftKings. Virgil van Dijk, you would almost never play unless it's like some Dutch slate where they're a huge favorite. He said you were playing Sasha Lukic at the end of the season as Fulham, as he was taking sets for Fulham. Yeah, there you go. I've literally never heard of that player, but I also don't pay attention to the Prem. Oh, wait, is there a search down here? Lukic. Oh, here he is. Sasa Lukic. Or Lukic, I don't even know. Taking sets, barely. Like this is somebody that you would want on DraftKings. Can I see? Yeah, DraftKings scored well on Sorare as well. Oh, really? Well, again, scoring wise, like, oh, Luque. That's funny. There he is. This is why people who played DraftKings are like, you need set pieces. Yeah, there you go. A little bit better. That's why set pieces are important. They're important on Sorare because it's like, oh, those are or attempted assists or final third passes and all that stuff. And on DraftKings, it's like, oh, because they cross. And here are all the cross. Well, I actually didn't even cross that much. He did in these games when he took the corners. There you go. That's the period right here. Shout out to RotoWire as well. Okay. Oh, so he would. So that's great. So Lukic was minimum price, meaning like when you saw all the salaries on DraftKings, he was minimum price, and so you had to play him so that you could get the bigger guys in. And this is exactly it. That's the DFS game. Now, granted, that could be what Arena turns into. DFS is all about finding an underpriced player that gets a step up in a role, and that's the puzzle solving, right? And like we're going to get that with the Arena or any sort of cap mode, where it's like, okay, we need to find the L15 of 30 who, oh, maybe they're going to take set pieces, and then you can fit your other guys in. So in that respect, yeah, it's very similar. But also, like, DFS didn't invent salary cap games. As soon as I said that out loud, I'm actually not sure that's true. Maybe they did. What do I know? But again, not everyone. Yeah, that's the zero goalkeeper, or it's a zero anybody. Like when Neymar was that L15 of zero, and then he banged 100. James said, but after a few games, that L15 goes up, and that guy becomes not the solution. So James, but also like on DraftKings, I don't think they do historical prices, do they? No, they don't have it. But on DraftKings, like why do I keep saying Sucic? Because everybody's name. If Lukic starts to go on a run and starts like scoring well on DraftKings, and then Fulham are home against Southampton, he'll be more expensive, and then you can't play him. Then he's not the puzzle piece. In the same way that they end up not being the puzzle piece when their L15 goes up. That part is very similar. The puzzle and lineup building on Sorare in cap modes is very similar to DFS. But that's it. Like that's how it ends. And the other thing is that if you bought Lukic for $1, like what did if you bought Lukic? Do they not even have? Oh, wait. Let's say you were one of the people who were like, "This guy is good," and we're able to get him at 62 cents. And then he starts taking set pieces, or you're even back here, 96 cents. And then, oh, all of a sudden he's doing well. You could sell that. Your price on Lukic never changes. Obviously, his L15 could make him tougher to play in the arena, but your buy-in on Lukic never changes. Dobsy said, basically always got to find a differential. Same with FPL and anything fantasy-wise. Right. He said, think of all these guys in your Sorare gallery that were no ones, but all of a sudden started crushing. Mm-hmm. James said, do you buy the puzzle piece each week for the arena? In that case, it becomes more DFS-like, playing each week on its own rather than the season-long play. So, James, people have been doing that for years for cap modes. The number of people, Keith Jameson, one of them, the number of people who would go to the Sorare Data pick score page, change the score range from 0 to 100 to 0 to 35, and buy the whoever was the highest rated L15 of 35. Like that's not new. That's not new from current Sorare. Like cap modes were always that. People love buying for one game week. Depends on the risk tolerance. All right. Hashtag not financial advice. Speaking of financial, thank you to everyone who is here live. because that means you are a member of the Andrew M. Laird Patreon. And if you are watching this back and wish you were here live or want to be live for every single future stream, patreon.com/Andrew M. Laird, little as $5 a month. Greatly appreciate anyone who even considers it, but I appreciate people more who actually go through with joining. Be like Mel and join today. Thank you. And thank you, Mel. Anyway, so we could find as many similarities as we want in terms of like gameplay or the fact that they both are about money, even though Sorare may not want us to think about that. We obviously haven't gotten into the whole like collectible aspect of Sorare, which I think is probably at the lowest it's ever been. But mostly because I feel like we're hiding it in terms of contest entries, like all of those special J League and K League cards. Like people really loved those, but they also loved the fact that they got access to additional competitions if they bought them. And these summer edition cards, I don't think that they would be collectible on their own, but people may end up paying more for those things in the future. And also you can sell them. That is completely different than every single aspect of daily fantasy sports. Your ability to basically buy these cards, which if you want to use them as your, look at them as an entry fee, that's fine. But you can sell that later, even if it's for less. Dopsy said, my gameplay style is 100%. If a player fits in my team for that game week and is good value, I'll look into picking them up. Yeah, perfect. James said, I agree when there was a threshold, but are you doing that for essence? To be interesting to see how people value essence. I think what's really tough about essence now is we don't know. Yeah, it's very hard for us to value essence. And I've actually long been on the side that like it doesn't matter, consider it its own currency or something like that. But the idea is that you want to accumulate essence, and you want to do that so that you can either enter competitions that will reward you more essence, or you get essence to craft cards that can either help you in further competitions or you can sell them. Now, I don't know how the new essence crafting is going to work. Like I see how they described it, but like who knows how it'll actually work. But I think that there's going to be like somebody, I don't know if it's going to be me, I doubt it, but somebody will do some sort of essence accounting that will say, I use my classic cards or my in-season cards to win this much essence. I then entered the arena, I won more essence, and then I crafted this card. Hopefully it's not Cameron Harper, but I crafted this card and I sold it for $100. And then people can start to visualize how essence turns into cash. Topsy said, I would say these summer cards a bit underwhelming in terms of design. So I completely agree with you. And I think part of the reason I agree is that they just seem just colored differently. Like they're just not different enough. Actually, let's, I can just put my actual ones side by side. And yes, I have 3 Gonzalo Montiels now. Yeah, like these just don't pop off the page any differently than just like regular cards. Like they're different, but I'm just not, I agree that they're just not exciting, but whatever. Sean said, I agree that actually the 10-pound entry fee for the summer edition cards for the Club World Cup actually is less, as you stated, due to the resale opportunity. Either picked up players who fit collections or big pieces I hadn't gotten yet and would use as classic pieces in season contests next year. Yeah, I mean, again, I can use these Montiels in classic competitions in 2026 if I wanted to. It would be my only classic card in there, and I can't imagine I would do that. So yeah. Keith said, in DFS, I lose $1,000 head-to-head last night. That happened. Oof. I have to make it back with more money. In Sorare, I spend $1,000 on a card. I don't win anything. I get to play him again. We all know this, but it's refreshing, to not have to reload as often, if that makes sense. That's exactly how I was trying to describe it earlier. And you're not necessarily depositing $1,000 because like if your DraftKings balance is significantly higher, then like, yeah, you lose. you just use from your balance. But yeah, the ability to not, or that was the biggest thing that brought me that like hooked me on Sorare was when I played DFS. It was like, okay, if I lost a slate, like I saw my balance like go down, like all my entry fees, it goes down, and then I didn't win anything, and it's like, okay, it didn't move. And and then when I did win, it was just kind of like topping off what I had lost previously, and it was just like this, or sorry, let me go this way. And like I was never that high, and I was never low enough where I had to like deposit back in, but I didn't like that. I didn't like it. And so when Sorare was presented to me, it was like, all right, I have this card. And at the time I did think about values, but I don't anymore. But basically I have this card and I enter it in contest. And if I win, great. Now I see my cash balance go up. And if I lose, my cash balance does not go up, but also it doesn't go down for the next entry. And like from a mental standpoint, for me, that makes a big difference. And it is a huge difference when it comes to when I look at Sorare versus DFS. Anian said, I expect an uproar again when people see we get less cards, more essence as rewards in Classic. So what's funny, Anian, is that this complaint bothers me so much because it's like everyone complains about winning lower tier cards, and they remove the lower tier cards for essence, which you can hold until you get a higher tier card. And then they complain there are not enough card rewards. James said, in Sorare, you can sell to top up your balance, or if you're more skilled than me, you can win to top it off. Another great point. Yeah, you can sell your cards to get a balance to move into other cards. Dobsy said, on DFS, you can be led to chasing your losses, which I'd argue isn't a thing on Sorare as much. I don't. Keith said 100%, but like I actually disagree with that a little bit, because there are plenty of people who like get close to winning and then they just deposit more in order to get better cards. It's more just that there's a way out. It feels like in Sorare, despite everyone trying to sell their galleries and nobody's buying. But I wouldn't necessarily say it's that you like, I'm sure there are people who, I don't want to say like chase losses on Sorare, because I don't think that's really the right phrasing. But I do think that there are people on Sorare, and I don't think it's a lot of people, but I think that there are people who are like, oh, I didn't win. Let me, like, if you're not winning on MLS streaks, it's like, all right, let me just buy a bunch more. And that feels like it's sort of the same thing. I don't know. Maybe it's not. Yeah, maybe it's not. Is that better? I don't know if it's better. I think it is probably better. You're right. I think hot streaks will differentiate Sorare more from DFS again. In my eyes, it's a completely different game from current in season. Yeah, I think the one thing that gets ignored with hot streaks, and I hate to say that like they did this once, so I assume they're going to keep doing it, but I think that the reason why hot streaks are better than people argue are these competitions where only people who hit the third streak can enter, hit the fifth streak can enter. Like I don't think it's perfect, because certainly with MLS, like with the people who basically lost their streaks because there were only 5 MLS games instead of 15 one game week. But I think that we're getting, like, I think that's a great mechanic of, if you reach a certain streak, you qualify for a tournament that has significantly better cash prizes. And I know that everyone's like, well, they should just take that cash and put it into the regular contest. But I do think, like, I just disagree. I think that what they did with streaks is really good. And I just absolutely adored that, like, that Deke got to the 5th streak already. And like, he knows he's going to be in this one later. And if there anyone who is like, I don't even want to say deserves to be in the MLS, in an exclusive MLS contest, like it should be Deke, but like that was like literally Sorare poetry. So congrats, Deke, GG's on that. But if they continue that, like if when they say hot streaks are coming to Europe, I hope that that's one of the things, that if you hit the 3 or 5 streaks in season Eredivisie, then you get access to an additional contest, which is sort of a, like, they have that in DFS also with this. They have a contest called King of the Pitch, which I don't even know who won it this year, but it was like you can enter these kind of qualifiers to get a ticket into the King of the Pitch, and then they have this big prize pool for King of the Pitch. The difference is you're not paying every time with the streak. In fact, if you're winning, you're actually winning cash as you move up. Andrea said hot streaks as rewards are shit, but the special comps are fun. Yeah. Well, again, I think the streaks are not meant to be the prize. Like, each step is not meant to beat this prize. It's the entry into a bigger contest. D-Kids 5, I can't make 2. Mike, I can't either. Hot streaks are good for Sorare only. It makes people feel they win more often, even if it's small amount compared to what they paid for the cards. So again, like, I think that I don't agree that it's only good for Sorare, because if you're like, again, the small amounts at each step are not the real prize that we're competing for with the hot streaks. It's to get to a certain hot streak, so you get your badge or whatever the hell they call it, and that gives you entry into a bigger tournament that has better cash prizes. Like, that's what streaks are. The streak is not about the each step. It's getting to the key steps that allow you to participate in a tournament that offers significantly bigger prizes. I keep taking my $3 every other week from hot streaks. I hit it this week. That's my $3 right here. Right on track. Right on track. $3, 1 card, and 9 essence. Ugh. It's just such a troll. Oh, wait, no, I didn't want to go here. Hold on. I already claimed this one. I scored like 400 and something, which, like, let me go to the next one. Like, literally, what was my line? 403 points. Put me on step 3. I don't think they should, but I just, that's how I feel. Let's see. They have to scale essence back on the leaderboards for cards with it only being 1 tier. We should at least see tier 2 and 3s in Classic, in my opinion. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't even know if they're going to change how essence is distributed, like how much. Copying MLB is way different. Like, MLB essence numbers are way higher, especially because you can boost them with ceiling and all that. But yeah, I don't know if they'll keep the numbers the same or not. Last 8-ish game weeks of Europe Contender, just getting 3 to 7 pounds each game week basically got me MLS stuff for the summer. Yeah, well, that's awesome. And imagine if there had been like a streak for that. The streaks are the prize in MLS, though, mostly. The 5th streak is 80% of first in Division 1. I feel like I'm kind of okay with that. Dobsy said kind of like winning a poker game to get you a ticket to a higher match. There you go. That's perfect example. Not to like say, hey, it's just like gambling, but it's, yeah. Andrea said you could also do streaks without rewards other than the badge. I think it would be much better. I wonder. So just take out all of the steps. That's an interesting idea, actually. If you take out all of the payouts, which I don't know, what are they again? So this is for limited. I only play MLS limited, but so the idea, Andreas, is instead of paying out $3 for the first, this I believe is $5 in cash and $5 market credits, $10 for third. This is, oh wait, it's literally written down here. That's funny. The fourth one is $40 and $20 in credits, and the fifth one is $160 in the badge. Is there no? Oh right, then badge is gone for the 3-step. So take all of this money that nobody's really winning and put that into the regular prize pool. And the idea is if you're getting 390, 410, 430, you're probably winning something anyway, just on the leaderboard. But now they can make the leaderboard itself bigger. I like that idea a lot, Andreas. Anion said, I think you can be profitable with streaks when you don't get the stars. Stars are meant for podiums, which are poorly paid. Keith said also streaks next year will be a normal mechanic versus now you having to play 5 in season, and that's a huge change in strategy. True. Like I play 5 in season because I need to. Mike said, yeah, basically from the end of next month, every in-season lineup counts for streaks in relevant comps. Yeah. Having a classic in streaks will give me 3 shots a week at it that are actually good. Right now, I have 1 good lineup. Anion said, I wouldn't be surprised when the same essence top. I'm sorry. I wouldn't be surprised when on the essence topic, they want to reward most cards via the new crafting and enabled content to be made and maybe attract more people. I'm fine with that, to be honest. Sean said the interesting point will be what are the points targets and league specifics and will they differ? Yeah. Bayern stacks, for example, would print streak money. So do Sorare cap players per team or make it a higher points total, therefore limiting the realistic guys you could use from the rest of the league. So interestingly, Sorare don't have to do this. What they like the prize pool for streaks is locked, presumably. I don't know if they announced it. Did they announce the specific prize pool? But basically it was like, hey, here's the prize pool and it's going to be split up for however many people get in. And so the interesting thing about the Bayern stacks is if you do streaks for the Bundesliga and everybody is like, let me just get Bayern stacks because that'll be the easiest way for the streaks, then the cost of Bayern cards go up because everybody wants them. But then when they get to the contest, like the badge competition, I don't know what we call them, the prizes actually aren't that great because there's so many people with Bayern stacks that there are more and more people who've qualified for it. And so now it's like, hey, we have this $20,000 prize pool, which is very different when it's split up between 200 people and 800 people. And that's just like one of the things you have to consider when you're doing the streaks of, do I actually want to keep paying for the Bayern certainty that I'm going to get there or not? Laird has to win, though, to make content about winning. I wasn't talking about my own content, Mike. Not my own. Heavens no. Heavens no. So yeah, like the Bayern stacks, I don't think would actually print streak money. They would just like, I mean, theoretically, they're going to print regular contest money anyway, but you're going to have to pay for that. Like there's a reason why the Bayern stacks are more expensive. But then you get to the big competition at the end and it's like, oh, maybe they're not as great. Crafting a card is 10x the experience than just winning a tier 3 like now, and the crafts could be legit anything. Yeah, like the reveal of crafting is the key. Like the reveal of your card right now is just not exciting at all, which is a bummer because I feel like it used to be. They will definitely look at the number of times each score is hit this season and set the levels accordingly. Yeah, I mean, and also you just have to consider like the Prem has more teams in it than the Bundesliga, and so and Eredivisie and Jupiler don't have, or are they at 20? I can't even remember now. So yeah, like I feel like it would be easy if they just had all of the if all of the streaks were the same, but I feel like we could also be completely understanding if they weren't because some leagues are just different. James said, but if they hit 5 streaks 5 times in the year, they would get 800. Can you multiply? Well, again, James, that's assuming that they keep the prizes at each step. And again, 5 times in a year, like you would basically have to hit it every single time. And I don't think Bayern stacks hit it every single time. Meaning you hit it 5 times and then you go back. It's really like 6 every 6 weeks. And 6 times 5 is 30 and they only play 34 games, right? So like that would be 800 if you hit it, if literally you hit the streak every single game week, which I don't think is possible. I mean, it's possible, but I don't think it's likely to happen. So yeah, we'll see. Streaks could easily just be for credits or essence, even cosmetics, etc. There's so much that could be done without it just being about money. Yep. Yeah. I'm very interested in this concept that Andreas brought up of not paying at each step, because like thinking of this for me, and this is going to sound like very arrogant, but like the $3 doesn't do much for me. It doesn't move the needle. It doesn't make me buy a new card. It doesn't make me do anything. I'm just there. $5 in cash and $5 in market credits. Like, thank you, but like, I'm not sure I'm doing anything differently. $10, I'm not doing anything differently. And it's not until I hit the fourth streak at 60 that it matters. And even then, if instead of this $60 and the $60 for everyone that scores 410 just went into the prize pool, like maybe I end up winning more often. Like if I scored 500 in the game week where I needed 410, like I'm probably winning plenty on the regular leaderboard. But if using all of this cash in the regular leaderboard and just giving me the whole like, all right, I've hit the fourth step. Now next week I could be fifth where I can enter a contest that might have $20,000 instead of $800. Like that's interesting. Imagine you could add the MLS streak icon to one of your MLS cards, or maybe one of your sealed cards because we can't put stuff on the cards, but maybe on the case. I'm too lazy to go back and confirm now, but in the Bundesliga, there were barely weeks where I had an under 400 score. So the thing is like it's not how often you had under 400; it's when you had them. Like if you were on the third streak or the fourth streak, and the next week was when you didn't have 400, you're back to zero. Sean said, I would imagine you would look at a Bayern stack, for example, as making your money back from the streak/in-season contest. The badge special is less of a consideration due to the higher number of users. Maybe. Adds uniqueness to the game. I feel like we all thought it would be, do you choose to bank the money or go on? There were a lot of people who thought that. Even after the announcement, people were like, wait, can you just take that? Or do you have to like if you keep going, do you not get that? But you do get it. They gave it to us. Brings me on to the good point why Sorare is different to DFS. Gamification. There's lots of ways to play and lots of things to win. Totally true. In fairness, there are lots of ways to play DraftKings, meaning like you could play only Prem, you could play only Champions League, you could play only Gold Cup when Guadalupe are playing. Philly Dilly, the answer is no, Sorare is not DFS. But we've spoken for an hour and 13 minutes about some similarities. Anion said, I doubt you make your money back with Bayern next season when everyone thinks about buying Bayern. Well, again, like it all depends. It depends. I mean, I'm sure there are plenty of people who bought Real Madrid stacks this year or collections this year, stacks, collections, whatever, and made their money, despite what some people who are very vocal on Twitter talk about Real Madrid. Like some people did win money with Real Madrid this year. Sorry, McBride, I couldn't resist. Yeah, McBride hated his. Sure. Keith, appreciate all the insight on the. I don't know why I was just pulling you up on chat and I just didn't have you on for this. I was really dumb. Poor planning. Maybe we'll see Keith later this week. But like, so I think that there are people who probably printed money with their Bayern collections and stacks this season, and there are others who didn't. And that's the game. That's the game. And the game is just much more on Sorare than it is DFS. Like all of the things we were just talking about, like are impossible on Sorare. Sean said, in terms of cost, is probably better looking elsewhere where Leverkusen, et cetera. But if the Bayern point pushes the total needed higher, then narrows the pool of players. I mean, that's the same as every year, though. Like we've never had a season where we're like, man, maybe Bayern won't be the best. Interested to get into the details when it's announced. Yeah, me too. Me too. Early July? Is that what they told us? I can't remember. We'll see. I'm glad I brought this extra water bottle. I had like half a cup of coffee and then all of a sudden I was gone. Dry throat, probably from the coffee. So, whew. Anyway, that's Keith's ETH withdrawal just hit. He's off to spend on DFS. Can't play. He's got to convert that to cash and then deposit that cash. Can't play with ETH. Also, the massive thing with football is any team in reality could smash next year, or they just smash in relation to what their prices were. Like there are people who won with like Wolves stacks this year and Brentford stacks, and like those weren't that expensive. I didn't say they would like smash the whole season. Like the nice thing about Sorare is they don't, for a lot of teams, they don't need to smash whole seasons. They just need to smash a couple key game weeks and you're good. Or sometimes just one game week. Like didn't Haber say that he paid off his entire in-season stuff in one game week? And while that's possible on DFS, you could deposit $25 and within that first week win or first day win 10,000. I don't know if that's egregious, but well, maybe for NFL. Yeah, the guy who won Prem with Newcastle, then he sold, then Forest. Yeah, like there are tons of ways to attack it, and some are more profitable than others. Some are cheaper than others to get in, and it's just that's the game we play, which is very different to DFS. Are there similarities as we discussed? Yes. Would you rather have a team playing midweek with champs utility but less predictable lineups, or no Euro play but the same lineup every weekend? I mean, I'm thinking about that for this upcoming season. Would I rather, excuse me, Real Madrid or I'm trying to think of a non. I feel like so many teams from the Big Five leagues now make some sort of European competition. Como, Lane Syria, I don't even know. So Philly Dilly, what one thing that we brought up earlier was Andreas was pointing it out that Jude Bellingham has had 60 opportunities, or excuse me, more than 60 opportunities in-season competitions this season between like domestic play, Champions League, and international play. And that number is a lot higher, obviously, because he has those midweeks and international utility. But I think like there are plenty of European teams that we think are very reliable lineup wise. And you don't need significantly more, or excuse me, you don't need teams that like barely rotate. It takes just like one rotation on a weekend and you're just like, what the hell? And so like, I don't know. I'm starting to think that the midweek ones are better if you have a collection, and a team like Real Madrid has like extensive coverage on it that like DMPs tend to be fairly known. Not all of them. Certainly won't say that, but Sorare, at least this past season, made it seem like the midweek competitions were important in terms of prize pools. And if you don't have guys from those competitions, then you can't participate in those. So yeah, I mean, who knows? James said, I prefer the extra games because it adds fun to the midweek, but that's just me. The reason I love Contender is that you can buy in relatively low and win your ROI in a single comp. I mean, you can not even win your ROI. Like you could massively do it. That's what I did with Contender. I think the lineup that I won, actually, I don't know if that lineup actually won division, or yeah, I won Division 2. At one point I won 1,000, one I won 1,500, and I had a second place, I think. But anyway, like I sure as hell didn't spend $1,000 on Contender cards. One of which I remember it was the Necaxa stack. I had Ezekiel on saying that I won in a classic competition, which like, hey, look, you can win cards that help you in season. But yeah, that's agreed. Like that's why I play Contender, because the cards are so much cheaper and the top prizes are actually quite competitive. You only have to win once to pay off a lower stack. Oh, where did that comment just go? There we go. Yeah. Dobsy said, I won my gallery value by podiuming in Division 2 before the restructure. Philly Dilly said, I was watching someone's content, blanking on who, and they said they got smoked in the actual leagues, but made more than enough money using the same team in Champs League to cover the cost of a stack. Yeah, I mean, it all depends how you want to play. If you want to do that research for the midweek stuff, like I get it. But it's very clear based on how Sorare has played out over the last season that Oh, it was Nep with his Arsenal and Champs League. I believe that. But what I was going to say is it's very clear, at least what Sorare did. Who knows if that's what they'll do moving forward. But they put a lot of emphasis on that midweek stuff. So if you can have a gallery that lines up with having good players that play midweek, you're going to have many more opportunities to win cash than you will by ignoring them. And does the risk, does the rotation risk for midweeks or the weekend, do those are those risks, is the reward for those risks greater than not having those opportunities at all? Dopsy said, legit, all it takes is one game week for it to turn in your favor. I mean, some people will spend so much that one game week is not enough. But I think if you're going to spend a lot, particularly for the guards to play midweek, like you need to make sure that you're playing those midweeks because there is a lot of cash to be won in those competitions. And again, you buy them once, or, the cards that you use, you buy once and you can play them all season. And that's very different than daily fantasy sports. Look at that. We just wrapped it all up right there. Thank you to everybody for coming. If you could please like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Shout out to Quinny. Big thanks to everyone who joined live and continues to join live in these streams, because they obviously make them much more enjoyable for me because I'm not just talking to myself. But particularly because you guys have become members of the Patreon, which I'm super thankful for. And love that we see some more people coming up. I think I'm going to end up doing more content like this, meaning specifically for members, and then it becomes available to everyone. I've used 24 hours. I assume I'll keep that. But if you watch this back and you were like, man, I would love to participate live, you can become a member of the Patreon right there, patreon.com/Andrew M. Laird. As little as $5 a month, as much as $20 a month if you just feel like spending more. There's also a $10 option that gives you a few more things. And the $20 option also gives you an exclusive live chat amongst just those in the Legends tier. But more stuff coming. I have to buy a pineapple for some content later this week for members. So I'm actually buying the pineapple either today or tomorrow. Got to figure that out. And I actually had a big conversation about different ways to cut a watermelon, and maybe we'll do that too. Anyway, thank you to everybody for coming. Enjoy the day. Please make sure you get outside.